New numbers, new area codes, new winters and new summers. More expansion, just think about it and make me wonder. Knocking on the beat like a relapse, I feel it coming.
All right.
Regular
Another episode of Discussions with Dubb. That's my interview series. So again, I want to appreciate you guys for taking the time to join me today, have this conversation. Excuse me. So today's conversation isn't just about an album, right? It's about evolution. It's about the two of you guys who came up in your respective times, survived a bunch of different trials and tribulations, broken home, trust issues, addiction, things of that nature, right? And you guys decided to turn all of that into something intentional. So today I'm sitting down with August Wild, NittyGritty, two independent artists who joined forces to create Project Nostalgia. But this project isn't about living in the past, it's about learning from it. So we're going to be talking about pain, growth, fatherhood, the whole nine, and how those two separate journeys collided to build something real, okay? So I know your foundation, your audience already knows you by your music name, but if you want to take a moment to go ahead and introduce yourself and let them know the real you.
Yeah. So I'll go first. I go by August Wild, but my birth name is Marco. And, I have loved music since I was a kid. Music helped me get through my parents' divorce. Music helped me understand myself. Music became the only place that ever understood me, and particularly hip hop. While I don't necessarily identify with like the streets, like I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was like this street kid or that, my daddy did this and my uncle did that. Like I identify with this, people don't understand me and I'm still going to be myself. And it was difficult for most of my life to be myself. And the only place I could keep my real thoughts was in music. And it took me a long time to fully say, this is who I am. I went through so many different quote unquote artist names, but ironically enough, August has felt more like my name than my birth name. So it's not really like this like rap name to me. It's like who I am. So
persona.
That's who I am.
Personality. I love it. I love it. How about you, my man?
I go by NittyGritty, or short for Nitty. Some people call me G. Some people call me Garrett. I'm from Manteca, California, born and raised. A little bit about me. I grew up kind of from a broken home. So I kind of fell into like dwelling with people who were coming from the same background. So people that were coming from a divorced home. So I kind of went out to the streets and did my thing. And that's where I fell in love with music, because naturally everybody's listening to music. You know what I mean? Kind of grew up on the Bay Area type shit, the Jacka, Jay Stalin, all that whole era. So naturally I just started freestyling with the homies and then fell in love with music. Music for me became therapy from all the traumas that I've been through. So I really try to stick with that narrative of making sure I never forget why I started. And that's to be able to have a venting method. As a man, nobody really listens to us. So
that part,
it's really hard to find somebody who you can talk to. So I talk to myself through music, you know what I mean? And I want to inspire people like me to talk about their life, you know what I mean? Because what helped me was when I was going through shit, throwing on a song where somebody was actually talking about some shit, and you sit back like, damn, like they went through something that I went through too, and it's a similar path. So that made me fall in love with music. And here I am today making music with August, plenty of open doors, opportunities, and thank God for it.
I love it. I love the background that both of you guys have, because, it's not just a thing that you guys were doing for fun, right? It's not something that you guys were just doing just to get clout or attention. You guys actually have a background and a foundation that kind of pushed you in this direction. And like you said, instead of being able to talk to certain people, because there's not always that avenue for us men, you found that avenue in the microphone. And so that's dope for the both of you guys. So with both of you guys coming from the different backgrounds that you come from, would you say that you grew up in survival mode or more structure?
I can't speak on behalf of him, of Nitty, but I feel like we both grew up in survival mode, just on different spectrums. My struggle was internal. People would look at like a nice house and say, oh, that person's rich. My parents were the kind of people who overextended themselves, went into debt to provide me a life that they didn't have. And I appreciate that a lot, but it's almost like meeting an absolute like 10 out of 10, like IG baddie, crazy, terrible personality.
Terrible.
Everything's wrong inside. Health fucked up, all that shit, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the emotional instability came from my parents being young. My dad was 19 when he had me. My mom was 21. And my dad came from his parents were immigrants. They migrated here from Mexico. And when you do that, when you're raised in survival mode, all you know is survival mode. But my survival wasn't, okay, I'm digging holes in the backyard like my dad did. My survival mode was, I got to know what his emotions are, because if he's mad, that means I need to go over here. If he's happy, that means I need to go do this. Same thing with my mom. You know what I'm saying? And then life taught me that same thing over and over again. Whether I tried to, I was playing basketball with people, right, in 3rd grade, and my jumper was hideous. It was terrible, but that shit went in, right?
That shit went in.
But you know what that becomes? That becomes a threat to the people on the court who take it serious and say, nah, like the 8 of us don't fuck with you. Like I've been jumped before, almost twice, once for sure. I've been isolated. People have like not cut me out, but like literally put rumors and narratives out there about me to the point where it forced me into this survival mode emotionally. I got to be able to read you before I associate myself with you. And it turned me into this kind of like analyst kind of person. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So yeah, I would say survival mode is something that I still live my life on,
Absolutely. Would you resonate with that as well, Nitty?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely I had a roof over my head growing up, but I come from the struggle. Like my family was all on drugs. I'm the only person out of my whole family that never did drugs besides my grandpa who raised me. But at a young age, my dad was hitting my mom. So my mom eventually gave me to my grandparents, thankfully. So that's the only reason I have a level head. But my dad being on drugs, like there was a physical person at home, but he wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like there was nothing there, like as far as a father figure. It wasn't, hey, how's your day? So again, I kind of was out in the streets, had no curfew, did what I did, and kind of found a family through other people. So my friends' family became family, and that's not typically something that you always want. You need some sort of discipline. But for me, again, music kind of saved my life in the aspect of it gave me a reason. It gave me a purpose. And I think we all need a purpose. As a young kid, when you don't have a purpose, it's a terrible thing. But I didn't have it super, super hard. There's people that obviously I know have it worse, but I didn't have it easy by any means. But I'm proud of the man that I became, for sure.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that you brought that up, right? About, you had your own struggles, and you can acknowledge that people have had it worse, right? But at the end of the day, I think that there is a big problem, not necessarily problem, but the comparison between the two. Don't belittle your struggles and what you went through, because that was magnified for you, right? And that's all that you know. And I've personally battled it with this myself, where it's like, oh, I know I don't have it as bad as other people. But at the end of the day, what I'm got going on is still weighing on me heavy. It's still affecting me.
It's kind of a survival tactic. You know what I mean? To like reassure yourself, like, oh, it's bad, but it could be worse.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like what I live by.
Trying to give yourself that saving grace.
Yeah, but honestly, you kind of need it as a strong-minded individual, because if not, you dive deep into depression, and then you're like, oh, poor me. I know a lot of poor me individuals, and that was never going to be me. So I always had that mindset of my biggest thing was, okay, my family's on drugs. I'm never doing drugs. Yeah. You know what I mean? My dad was a shitty dad. I'm going to be a good dad.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I pride myself on being the opposite of how I was raised. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I got a friend who he's always saying like, man, I can't complain, like people have it worse. It's, to me, the equivalent is like, okay, I got stabbed, somebody got shot, so therefore my stab ain't a big deal. It's like, bro, you're still bleeding.
Yeah.
Like you got to tend to your wound. And you can't just say someone has it worse until you're blue in the face, bro. There's always a richer someone, a better looking someone, whatever the case may be. That doesn't take away your problems.
Exactly. You still got to kind of tend to them, just like you said.
Right.
Otherwise you can bleed out yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate that perspective. So as far as that, would you guys say that you kind of grew up guarded, or that trust was an issue for you based on the things that you faced?
I would say I grew up in doubt of being guarded. Like I did have the trust issue, but I wanted so badly to not have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, like I could see the best in this person. Like, I know that he did that person dirty, but maybe I could change his ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like, yeah, you know, like that guy, you know, yeah, he sold drugs and he's a meth addict. That's a real story, by the way. Yeah, he sold drugs and he's a meth addict, but like, I know people like that in my family. I know he could be a good person. So like, I tried so hard. It's almost self-inflicted at a certain point. It's almost like I'm looking for the problem, thinking that I could save everybody, when really I'm like trying to save myself. Like I'm trying to save my inner child. Like I'm trying to be the person that I wish I had when I was growing up. And so yes, I did have the trust issues, but I guess I just try to wish them away, you know, like create an environment where it wasn't the case.
Absolutely.
For me, I grew up playing sports. So it was all about team. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It was all about trusting your teammates and all that shit. You know what I mean? But it took certain events growing up for me to really have a lack of trust. Some traumatic things happened to me when I was, you know, teenage years. And that kind of shut me down immediately to where it was like, yo, like your own people could turn on you. You know what I mean? Like it took me down a dark hole of zero trust. I got trust no one tatted on me. And still to this day, I carry that weight with me, and I wish I didn't. Even my wife always says like, oh, I wish you were like more outgoing, this and that. And it's like, I can't change who I am because that's the path that I chose. I chose to hang out with those certain individuals, and this is who I became because of it. So I definitely have trust issues still to this day. It's something that I'm trying to work on. But if I had one wish, I wish I didn't. I wish I trusted more people, especially with music. It's all about connectivity, and you have to put yourself out there. And I'm having an issue with that. You know what I mean? Putting myself out there, not my personality, but just like trusting people in general. Like, what's their intent? So definitely have a lot of trust issues in my background for sure.
Yeah. And I think like through life experiences, like you both said, actually is you're trying to fight that process of trust issues, but throughout times and experience, like I said, you kind of run into situations where people show you that you can't put anything past anybody.
Yeah.
And even some of the people who are closest to you will kind of cross those boundaries and cross those lines. And while you want to give people the benefit of the doubt and the love based on the person that you know that they can be, people often show us exactly who they are.
Exactly.
And we got to believe them.
And we have to believe them, but it's hard to believe them, especially depending on the relationship that you have with them. Or
you don't want to believe it.
Exactly. You may have just a big heart in general.
Yeah.
You're like,
been there, done that. Where you try to cut somebody off and you're like, well, maybe they won't do it again. Yeah. And then they do it again.
You're like, okay, I mean? that was just a one-off situation. Let me try it one more time.
Or maybe they're going through like a bad part of their life. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
turns into a toxic relationship, man.
Yeah. It gets tricky. It gets tricky. So with that trust, and you had tied it into music, right? So let's kind of jump into the music aspect. When did music first enter your guys' life?
I mean, as long as I can remember, like 6 years old when my parents got divorced. But before then I was writing when I could write, I started writing poems about like the way that I would feel. Then I discovered hip hop first. My dad would listen to Pac heavy. My mom listened to Pac heavy. And even though like I couldn't tell you a single word that he said at the time. Right. But I remember it was Changes that we were listening to and Dear Mama in between the two. And I remember like thinking, damn, like this rhythm gives me confidence. I couldn't tell you at that age what it was, but like it was the bounce. It was the words. It was the, what they say, braggadocio, like whatever that big ass word is, right? Like the way that Pac carried himself, the way that Snoop carried himself, not just on the microphone, but like in music videos. For someone who everyone, like since I was born, I'm a Mexican man, right? People look at me and call me white till this day, right? Oh, you don't know Spanish. Like you're white, right? Bro, like my name is Marco Antonio Aguilera. Like look it up. You want to know when I'm not white? When I apply for a home? When I apply for a job, they don't get to even see the color of my skin. You know why? Because they just see that name right there. But my whole life from 0 to 6, they're like, no, you're not. You're not Mexican. You're not Mexican. So imagine that. And then you identify with somebody who, rest in peace to Pac, he was dead by the time I was able to resonate with him. You know what I'm saying? So music came into my life when I was probably 6 years old. But it wasn't just hip hop. Rest in peace to Chester Bennington. If you guys are familiar with Linkin Park. Yeah. Bro, that guy, Chester Bennington, real quick about him, bro, he had the toughest childhood of a lot of stories that I've heard in Hollywood. And that guy would sing things of like in the end, it doesn't matter. I've become so numb. And it's like, I'm 6 years old and resonating with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And but it's some real ass shit. So yeah, from that point, I said, there's no way I can hear a beat and not put the way I feel on it. So music's been with me since I was 6 years old. Short answer.
I love
That was a fire answer, bro.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Well, you be fucking smoking. I'm like, how can I?
Yeah, no, I relate with that. I think we all can relate with the fact that when you're young, you know, you listen to music from your parents, you know what I mean? So we all have that aspect. I relate with the whole Tupac thing for sure. When I went through my trust issues, Pac resonated with me. My mom loves Tupac. So, you know, being able to listen to Tupac with my mom was dope. But as far as like making music, like actually writing a rap and shit like that, I was probably like 15. And obviously it was just like some like gimmick shit, like, oh, let me just see if I can do it. You know what I mean? It was never about what I was talking about earlier with venting. It was just like, oh, like, let's just rap. Like, we listen to music every day. We're smoking weed, like, fuck, throw on a beat, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we did that for a while, and then it got serious, and we used to I had an iPod Touch. I'll tell everybody this story. I had an iPod Touch. We had nobody with a studio. You know what I mean? No way to fucking record, but the voice memos on the iPod, you could record. So we used to fucking put that up on the wall. Somebody would play a beat and we would record verse, hook, this and that. And somebody would fuck up. We got to redo it. You know what I mean? And that really, for me, created, like, you get a special bond with people you make music with. So I fell in love with that aspect of it as well. But that kind of solidified my roots with music, where it was like, obviously I grew up with music, listening to music. But those times of like making music on the iPod Touch, it means everything to me. And I'll never forget those moments. Like, if anything ever happened and I actually did elevate successfully, I would never forget where I started with music. So,
and it sounds like where you started was with the real nitty gritty.
With the real, down to the nitty gritty. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So with you guys listening, you know, obviously having that influence and listening to music and kind of diving into it. I know you have your specific influences like Bay Area, the Jack and Messy Mar, Mac Dre.
Yep.
I know you have your own musical influences. What did each of them kind of teach you about being transparent in your music?
That's the only way to last forever. That's the only way to get immortalized. You know what I'm saying? Like, no shade to nobody. Tell me a rapper who hit the mainstream in the last 5 years that resonates with you. That's right. So like, hey,
man's over here proving points.
So like, rappers, what I feel like happened, bro, is that rappers have always had like that swagger to them, right? That wasn't the appeal. The appeal in the beginning was, look at the shit that they're saying. Like, you take a man like Pac. Pac isn't necessarily regarded as the best lyricist of all time. He's regarded as one of the most influential rappers we've ever seen, right? It wasn't just the mic presence. It was who he was as a person. The clothes just happened to fit. And what I think happened is, unfortunately, people either my age or a little younger, born in 2000s, they only saw the swag. They only saw the girls. They only saw the houses, only saw the cars, and said, that's the way to get respect, all that material shit. So they get on beats and start, I'm gonna sound like an old ass man hating him, right? But they get on beats and start talking about, I got this car that I don't really got. I got this body I don't really got. I'm fucking all, excuse me, I'm sorry, but I'm fucking all these women that I ain't really fucking. So in my opinion, right, the thing that I've learned is that the people who, you go to a stadium right now, bro, they're still playing Lollipop. Why? Because Lil Wayne has done more for the culture and done more for arenas and done more for all that shit than a lot of the things that we're getting today, because Lil Wayne spoke to something for somebody, right? So the thing that I learned, to summarize it, is it's cool to make vibe music, whatever you got to do. If you want to have clout, cool, have more clout than me. I don't give a fuck. What I care about is, can I make 10 people in that crowd resonate with me? We did a show and we performed our song Proud of You off our album Project Nostalgia. It's the outro. Go listen to that, right? Somebody walked up to me and said, thank you guys for making that song. I got 2 kids. Thank you.
Yeah.
That will never, I don't care how many followers I got. Nothing can replace that feeling. You feel me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys are touching the souls of people through your music, and it's influential. And with you bringing up Lil Wayne, like that stuff is timeless. And
Right.
with a lot of his early albums, it's like, he was speaking to some people who were going through the same thing and similar backgrounds and things of that nature. And so, like, I don't know if you guys have seen recently with, a Bay Area artist who's getting some backlash for bringing up Lil Wayne. And he had made a comment that Lil Wayne wasn't really talking about nothing. I don't want to dive too deep into that, right? But I just think it's interesting because his early albums, he was talking about some stuff and he was talking about his struggles. And if you're really listening, his metaphors are crazy and the stuff he's, how he's breaking it down. But at the end of the day, he's really talking about some stuff he was going through.
Listen to Sky is the Limit, bro. I can't say the chorus. I don't have the pass. But like, listen to the chorus of Sky is the Limit by Lil Wayne. He says, I will die for my homies. Like, but how is that not the realest shit that you can ever think of?
Bro, Lil Wayne sunned all these rappers, bro.
Yeah.
Let's
be real.
To be honest, bro. And people forget that shit.
Let's be
you know what
real.
I mean? People forget to put respect on certain people's names.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For sure.
Absolutely. So I know you guys have talked about your own style, right? You have struggle rap, the real life kind of thing. At what point, maybe this is kind of back when you first started music, but at what point did you realize that your struggles were your story, was the story that you're telling and was the avenue that you're taking in your music? Because I know with you at first, right, Nitty, you had said that you kind of just jumped in with, just throwing on a beat, smoking with the homies and you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a moment that you feel like that kind of took a switch for you and you were like, you know what, let me talk about this real stuff?
Yeah, mostly when I started going through the whole like trauma experience that I was speaking about, probably when I was like 18, when I had those trust issues. So obviously when I first started rapping, like the homies were the homies, you know what I mean? It was just fun. We were smoking, throwing a beat and we are just talking about fun shit, more on like some Mac Dre vibes, you know what I mean? And then when I started actually going through more shit, not that I haven't already been through shit at this point, that's when I was like, oh, okay. I probably took like a 2-year break from making music when I had traumatic shit happen to me. And I was heavy, just like chilling in the house, bro, lock myself away and play video games. I know we've probably all been there. And then I moved back to Manteca at that time because I had moved away. And that's when I was like, fuck it, I'm going full-fledged with music. And I started making music by myself. I think that kind of helped that process because it was no longer about like the homie's verse or the beat he chose. It was like, I want to choose this path. And I started just gravitating towards more of the struggle type of shit, more sentimental type of beats, you know what I mean? And just naturally started speaking about real life and haven't looked back since because for me, like I said, it's therapeutic. So it's a healing process, especially when I play my own shit back. Even to this day, I'll play some shit from like 2 years ago and be like, damn, like that person went through that shit. And that's me. You know what I mean? Like obviously I relate with myself, but sometimes we say things as music artists and we forget that we actually went through that shit. You know what I mean? So for me, it's important to remember my past, not just fucking push it away. So I love speaking about my past. But yeah, music definitely was fun at first, but definitely gravitated towards more of a real life aspect, and I'm glad it did.
Yeah, and I like that you said that, man. That you forget that you actually went through this stuff. It sounds good on the track.
Yeah,
the rhyme sounds great, but then when you really sit back, it's like, I got through that.
Exactly.
Right. It's like eye-opening, almost motivating at the same time. Especially when you're going through your own trials and tribulations. And I know, Marco, for yourself. And I'll be transparent, Marco. We've known each other for a while, right? Since high school. And we were just talking about this before we started rolling, the goofball aspect of you and the growth that you've shown. And at some point recently or within the last year or so, I had reached out to you via Instagram and kind of told you how, I love the growth and how you were being so open and transparent because you had faced your own struggles, right? Do you still continue to be open about the struggles that you face and the things that you battled?
I have to. Like I'm a sacrificial lamb. Like that's the way I look at it. Like I look at it like I made all these mistakes. I did everything that anybody, you know what? If you go and listen to any rapper ever like dissing somebody that you don't understand, it's like, man, he's talking about like sleeping at the Sheraton, bro. That's me. Like, and almost all the tropes of somebody you don't want to be at some point in my life outside of like a bad person. Like I was every form of goofball that you could be. And I for no other reason than trying to make people that I felt like could reach their potential just see the different side of life. I couldn't do it. And So now that I know all the shit that I've done in my life, like I've been through the heartbreaks, I've been through the self-sacrifice, I've been through the self-sabotage, I've been through all this shit. I'm going to put my story out there. So hopefully I don't care if 1 million learn from it. I want someone to learn from my story because I try to take my life off this shit, like real shit. Last time I ever drank alcohol, I tried to kill myself. Like I drank half a handle of tequila and 8 Modelos because I did not want to wake up. That was July 6th, 2018. And God spared me. And I said to myself, how many people don't get the story of God sparing them? I didn't write a note. I didn't say goodbye to nobody. The most selfish way that I could have gone. And I said to myself from that moment on, as long as I have a fucking mic and a camera in front of me, I'm gonna share my story. I don't care if other people are uncomfortable. I don't care if other people like, why are you talking about that? Hey, apologize to yourself, bro. You put me through that. I'm just sharing it. My thing is, if I don't share this fucking story, who will? Right? It's not about, oh, let's all feel sorry for Marco. Let's all feel sorry for August. I made my peace, bro. My life is good. But there's someone out there right now who can benefit from that. You know what I'm saying? What's the point of all of our lessons if we have no one to teach?
I love that. And if I'm being completely transparent, like we never had any issues or anything like that. But once you started getting transparent with your story and your struggles, I found a new level of respect for you. Because just like you said, there's a lot of people who don't get the grace of being spared by God, right? Then there's a lot of people who don't have the confidence or that same motivation to share their story. And so understanding that aspect that people can benefit from you being vulnerable, it goes a long way, right? Because I think that especially as men, and we talked about this earlier, how men don't have that outlet. I think a lot of men battle with some struggles in their head mentally and those thought processes, right? But not everyone's going to sit there and be an open book about it. Not everyone's going to sit there and actually admit to it because of the stigma or worrying about how they're going to look in the end game of it. And so I think there's a heavy appreciation for you stepping out of that box and stepping out of your comfort zone and opening up that door, opening up that avenue, and especially doing it in a therapeutic way such as music, right? Because that everyone can relate to music. Like we said, from the moment we're kids, right? You feel that bounce, you feel that vibe, you feel that rhythm. Music speaks to us. And so now when you're using the music that already speaks to us, and now you're speaking on that music, it goes such a long way. So I just want to tell you that personally, like that's really dope. That, I mean, obviously both of you guys are open and vulnerable, but just knowing you and kind of how you've evolved, I think that's really dope that you've opened up that avenue because you can kind of see that new version of Marco emerge. Right. And it was just like, this is a different guy. And it's like, it's really dope to see that.
And that goes into what me and you were talking about before camera. The fact that when you're open like that and you put yourself out there, for some people, it might create a lot of hate. But for people like yourself who are mature and who know him from the past, it's respectable because it's like you see the growth. You know what I mean? But for people who are just meeting August, you know, it might come off as like, yo, this dude puts himself out there way too much. You know, and I congratulate him for that, you know, because it's not easy to put yourself out there that much, especially as a man. It's not.
You know and those people who have that opinion are people who are uncomfortable
insecure
with it.
themselves also. Exactly.
Yeah.
It says
and
it a lot.
Again, it's like, hey, if you're uncomfortable, that's your problem.
That's your problem. Exactly.
Because this is my story. This is my truth. I have to live in it. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's really dope. So you guys both have your own struggles, your own things that you battle with, your own obstacles. Let's talk about more deep into the music and let's get into Project Nostalgia, right? How did NittyGritty and August Wild, how did you guys join forces to kind of start this process?
Join forces like Power Rangers.
Well, let's think about it. The stuff that you guys are doing is powerful.
Yeah.
It really is powerful. So how did you join those forces and come to you know, creating Project Nostalgia?
Man, I met August through a mutual artist. And like I said earlier, I don't really put myself out there too much. So this certain event that I went to, it was one of those things where it was happening and I was like, damn, should I go? And my boy Pasco, he was like, fuck it, let's go. And I was like, all right, this year I pride myself in trying to put myself out there. Let's go. And I'm glad I did because through that mutual artist, I met August. And you know, August is the type of person that instantly be like, yo, what's good, bro? I'm August. You know what I mean? And I'm more closed off. So I was just like, oh, what's good, bro? You know what I mean? But
I remember that.
Yeah. He had hit me up, you know, trying to collab. And we made a song, Never Back Down. And everything went well. And, you know, I'm a real energy kind of person. So as soon as I meet somebody, it's energy. You know what I mean? How does this person make me feel? Like, what's the vibe when they step in the room? And I had no tension with August. You know, he has great intentions. So I was open to collabing with him from the jump. And as far as like moving forward with the album, shit, it was just natural, bro. It was just one thing led to another where we made a song and then we're like, let's make an EP. And then we're like, fuck it, let's make an album, bro. Yeah, let's keep going. You know what I mean? We kind of just caught the vibe. You know what I mean? So
Nitty is exactly who he is at all times. There's not a on-camera Nitty. There's not an on-mic Nitty. When I first heard about him, I didn't know his name. Someone's like, bro, someone came to the studio the other day and we put on a beat and he's like, all right, this is hard. Can I get a piece of paper? And they all looked at it. I wasn't there.
Real pen and pad.
But I wasn't there. But when they told this story, they were like, they kind of looked at each other like, what do you mean a piece of paper? So like, they were like, yeah, no, he found a piece of paper. And he just started writing the shit. And then when he went in the booth, like they were like, dude, he was hard. Like that shit. And then so they played it. I'm like, oh, that guy's crazy. Right. But my brain goes like, you don't know what to get. And this is not with rappers in particular. This is any musician. Music could be just a creative outlet, not necessarily something that people live. Not every artist is like Nitty and myself, and that's okay, right? But when I met him and like he said, like I dapped him up, I felt hey, yo, I don't trust many people. I'm reluctant to even be here kind of energy, and I fuck with that, right? The same way I said, bro, like I try to break through people. I didn't say I want to break through Nitty, pause. But
Big pause.
Pause important. I appreciate it.
Respect. No, but I said to myself, that guy's exactly what his music sounds like. And so when I made Never Back Down, I said, I got to send it his way. And the music that he makes, the song that he makes, it really spoke to me. And it spoke to a part of me that I felt like I lost. You know, I had gotten to this place where I was in a circle of people who like, no, you know, like, this has to go here and that has to go there. And that's fine. Like that's their process. But like music at that point became more of this, like, how do we make something that we know people are going to like, as opposed to how do I say something that resonates with me and happens to resonate with other people?
How do I just be myself?
Exactly. And when I heard his verse on Never Back Down, my brain went to, I need to make more music with this guy.
Dope.
Yeah.
I like that. Around what time was that? Like what year did you
last year? No,
that was last year.
Yeah, just last year.
Yeah, we met 2 years ago, I believe.
Okay.
And then that was last year. Yeah.
I mean, it's just sitting here speaking with you guys, I would assume that you guys known each other for a good 5 years.
Oh, this is my cousin.
I gotta ask you all, do we look alike?
Oh.
He look hella
He said, "Oh shit."
I can see why people say that, but it's not the first impression that I get when I look at both of you guys.
Fair enough.
But now that you ask me and I'm kind of looking, I'm just like,
It's the light skin and the beard. That's all it is, bro. That's all it is.
I really think it's the beard.
Yeah.
But no, that's hecka funny. That was a funny question.
But we also probably give you that impression, not to cut you off, but when we were making Project Nostalgia, it wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna send you this beat and you send me a verse.
Yeah.
He pulled up to the studio
every time.
And at first it was like, okay, like let's cut on this beat. I fuck with it, cool. But then it started turning into like, hey, how was your day?
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, how was your month? How's life? And we would vent and talk. And it wasn't like, oh, let's gossip, talk shit. It was more so like, exactly. Like we said, men don't get the opportunity to do so.
I think we both fell in a place in our lives at the same time where we were fucking with certain individuals, and then out of nowhere we stopped fucking with those individuals. So we were kind of both searching for somebody we could fuck with, that we could trust in the music shit. And it just perfect time, perfect place for both of us, I think. And as far as like pulling up, like I made it a big deal. Like when we made Project Nostalgia, I was like, man, I could send you something, but like we live in the same city. Like let's pull up, because that's why I love starting to make music. Going back to my roots is being in the same room as somebody and just fucking vibing out, bro. Like even if it's on some real shit, you're still vibing. You're still matching each other's energy. You know what I mean? You're still fucking feeding off of what the other person's coming up with. And so the whole album was just that. Like, let me pull up. All the featured artists, same thing. Like, pull up. Don't send it. Like, pull up. Let's create a vibe. And like August said, like it created a friendship, because we started like actually asking each other like, hey bro, how was your day? You know what I mean? And real conversations. So it wasn't just like I'm collabing with this dude. It was like, okay, like this is actually somebody I can fucking actually fuck with outside of music. You know what I mean? So that was super important. And that's why the project I think ended up being so dope, is because of the just the way that we collabed on the project outside of the project. You know what I mean?
Even when I walked in the garage, you guys were having one of those conversations.
Every time.
And so like, I know that that's real because I felt it. I stepped into the space and I felt the energy that you guys were having, like a true conversation and bouncing ideas and the concepts off each other. And then you were asking him something about his perspective. And I was just like, that's rare. And even as I'm setting up, you had asked me a question, you know, with all the things that I'm doing, because, you know, I keep myself busy. You asked me, how's my mental health? And honestly, that question took me back for a second because I don't get
you
that
don't hear
question
that
a lot.
all the time.
That's and it's not a hard question to answer, but it's also a shocking question to receive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially in the midst of everything that's going on, it forces you to kind of like put everything to a halt and like analyze.
Right.
So it's like, I love the fact that you guys were able to kind of create that bond outside of the music itself, because I think that feeds into the music aspect.
Yeah,
it feeds into that vibe that you guys create in the studio together and how you guys produce that music that speaks to other people as well.
Absolutely.
And so my question to you guys is, why is it called Project Nostalgia? Break down the title for me.
I feel like I remember when we said Project Nostalgia, but I don't remember. Like, I feel like it just ended up developing as a concept over time, because the very first song we made is Doesn't Matter Anymore. And I can remember we had picked out the beats, but we hadn't necessarily had a session. And I had almost quit music before we made this project. Like, we started making it in August, and in the month of July, I considered never making music again, or like put it like for the public, only for myself. Because I kept running into these situations of, bro, I keep thinking I'm running into goats and really they're snakes. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
Caption
the way.
that.
Yeah, you said something right there.
Yeah, I was like, do I need fucking glasses? Like, why do I? So you start looking at yourself and thinking, bro, what energy am I putting out there that makes these snakes think they can fucking bite me? Like what am I doing? And I said, you know what? Like, if I keep putting myself out there like that, the problem is me. But he really restored something within myself that I first got into music for. I didn't get it to make the catchiest tune. I didn't make it to look the coolest. I didn't get into it for nothing other than I'm going to say what I feel when I feel it. I don't give a fuck who feels a way about it. Okay. Because frankly, y'all made me feel that way. That's on you. Right. Nitty doesn't give a fuck about what anyone thinks about his music.
Not one, not two.
Exactly. So when the first line I wrote was, it was Doesn't Matter Anymore. It's, I've been taking time away from everybody. Growing up, I wanted love from everybody. Now I see the world for what it is, and I don't really care to fuck with anybody. And that's a really reflective line. So the same way you open with Project Nostalgia is not about living in the past. It's about learning from it. That's what we've been doing. Every time we talk, what have you been through? What have I been through? Because mind you, these were the first time we heard each other's stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that you said that. So with having that concept, right, is with you learning from the past, if your younger selves heard this album, what would hit them the hardest? What would they take away from it? How do you think the younger version of you would feel hearing the music that you're creating in this album that you dropped?
The younger version for me would just feel growth. Same way August said, like, I kind of brought like some real shit out of him, like how he used to feel in music. He kind of brought that out of me, like the fun side of it. A lot of these beat choices for me were, I think we named Project Nostalgia because we were speaking about the past, learning from the past, but also the beats make us feel like it's from the past. You know, it's a lot of early 2000s, late 90s samples. But if the younger me like heard this album, he would be proud because it brought me back to my roots. Like, it goes into the fact that we made this album together in the studio, and you can hear a lot of that. You know what I mean? I wasn't in competition with myself, with him. You know, August is a real easy flow kind of person. He made the whole project super easy to collab with. But yeah, my younger self would be proud of this album for sure. You know, there's a lot of growth in this album for me.
I would say the same. I would say pride would, I would say confusion would probably be the first thing that my younger self would feel. It's like, what do you mean we lost everybody? What happened? Right? Because keep in mind, everything I'm saying right now sounds very mature. I mean, you knew me in high school. When you're living a lie, when you're letting yourself go, it doesn't look like you're letting yourself go. You lift up your shirt like, I still got that 6-pack and you really got fucking jelly rolls, bro. Right? Like I look at old pictures of myself, old videos of myself. I'm like, does he know what he's doing? I don't think he does. So I think the younger me would look at myself confused, like, I know we said what's on our mind, but we're 30 years old and still like conflicted. Like what happened, you know? And then on the music side, I think it's pride. I think we would hear, because you don't hear like, damn, like August is kind of iffy and then Nitty's great or Nitty's iffy. It's balance. It's just great fucking music, bro. Outside of just saying shit that's real. We said shit that's real on like funky ass beats, bro. Like that's what that's kind of what it's about, you know? Yeah.
And so to kind of elaborate on what you just said as the younger version of you and, you know, kind of questioning, does that kid know what he's doing? And the demeanor and the way that you carried yourself back then, would you say now that you've done all this growing, would you say that character that you had, that behavior that you exhibited, would you say that it was a mask for how you were feeling? Or would you just say it was just kind of, that's just who you are because you just weren't fully grown yet, fully developed?
It's a mixture of both. So when you grow up, when you're young, like I'm talking like 5 years old, and everyone's telling you that you aren't something that you are something that you aren't. It creates this, this confusion. So I always felt like I was playing catch up with my broken inner child. So when I look back, it wasn't that it was a mask in the sense of I'm being someone completely different. I went by Mark. I didn't go by Marco, right? Because I was too afraid to go by August, the person that I felt like I was. It wasn't even a name. It was like, I know who I am, but the second I start being myself to these other people, they're like, nah, bro, I can't fuck with that. And if I have more balls, I'd be like, at the time, if I had more nuts, I would have been like, well, then fuck you too. But I'm like, nah, not this guy. I want this guy to fuck with me. He's my best friend. I've known this guy for X amount of years. Now I don't give a fuck. You know, like that, frankly, that's what's changed. It's like, it's not about I wore a mask. If I wore a mask, it was a clear one. You know what I'm saying? You could still see who I am and the emotions and the tears, bro. But
cooking.
like
August is cooking.
I like that, man. I like that.
I had a little warm up in the beginning, bro.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we mad because I play ball, but you balling right now, man.
Come on
Thank
now. Talk about it.
But yeah.
I like that, man.
Thank you.
So now with your project, let's talk about we talked a little bit about your guys' creative flow, getting in the studio, right? Is there ever a time that you guys started with lyrics and had to find a beat to go with it? Or is it always, we got this beat or we got this sample, let me write to it?
August sent me all those beats in one day. Like, so it initially started with, there was a completely different sound. He picked out like 3 or 4 different beats from a different producer, and it was a completely different sound than Project Nostalgia. I came through, we made a song. We kind of both looked at each other like, that was cool, but maybe that ain't it. You know what I mean? So we slept on it, and he had found a producer, and it really just goes into this producer had a fucking extravagant deal. And so he sent me a bunch of beats, and it was just from there, it was like, yeah, that's it. That's the sound. And then, I mean, his work ethic is just through the roof. So I would come through and set up a studio session, and August would have like fucking 5 verses already done. I'm like, all right, for sure. Like half the work's done, bro. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was the easy workflow. But yeah, August, hats off to August. He created a lot of motion in the beginning for this project for sure. You know what I mean? And like he said, like I'm a real standoff guy. You know what I mean? So even though I was starting to trust August, I still didn't trust him at all. Not one fucking bit. You know what I mean? So it took a few times for me to be like, okay, like this dude, he's good. He be rapping, he be saying some shit, but do I fuck with him? You know what I mean? So just his consistency and I would say like his unselfishness, the biggest thing about August that helped with this project and in general, bro. Like you're very unselfish, I would think. You compliment people very well, and just like, you know, you worry about other people instead of yourself. So that helped a lot. But yeah, bro, fucking Project Nostalgia was all this man right here. You know what I mean? He made it a easy transition to be able to be like, yeah, this is an album. This is me and August together. You know what I mean? Let's do it.
I love how that comes together. August, you made a comment earlier about Nitty that he is exactly who he is, right? And I just want to say, as we're sitting here having this interview, I would say that you guys are both exactly who you are, because even the stuff that you guys are talking about how you guys have came together and bounced ideas and then started doing actual check-ins outside of music, you're exhibiting that right now, right? And you guys show the love and you guys show the appreciation and just giving that credit where credit is due. You're unapologetically yourselves. And I think that goes a long way in a world full of facades and people who just want, like, the clout, the attention, and they want to put on a show. So I just want to show appreciation for the fact that you guys are really authentic in what you guys are doing, what you guys are saying, and it's being demonstrated rather than just being spoken about, right? It's being demonstrated rather than being vocalized.
I appreciate that. Monty, before you continue, right, I got to say, y'all right now, go check the credits of Project Nostalgia. Nitty's listed as the executive producer, because I agree with everything he said. I gotta add.
Here you go, being unselfish. You know what I mean?
That's what we're here to do.
Yep.
Nitty's work ethic when it comes to the studio, he don't just come in and write a verse and leave. He'll look at, like, my brain will be like, he knows too. I'm like, yeah, all right, so we're gonna go hook, verse, verse. He's like, hey, what if we actually did just verse, hook? What if we rearrange this part of the sample to do this over here? He like challenged me in a way of like making it better. Our song, Now I'm Up, which is probably one of the better performing songs. Shout out Ace Boogie, shout out Deuce Tro, right? That song originally was hook, verse, hook, verse, hook. There's 4 of us on the fucking song. And so
the whole song was a hook.
Yeah. And Nitty's like, bro, like that's going to be a little too repetitive. What if we go hook, verse, hook, verse, hook? And we did it, bro. Like that song is incredible. Like, yes, I have the work ethic of like, I'm gonna make this verse for this topic and that verse for that topic. But Nitty will come in and essentially, I don't want to say be a tastemaker, but like effectively, like that's what it was. He's like, we're yin and yang in that regard.
That's so dope. That's so dope. I love that. You guys like really are pulling everything together, and it's showing the creative side, right? Even with that kind of you battling the trust in the beginning or whatever, you're still putting yourself out there and you're still adding elements to the project that you may just think it's just part of your process. Yeah. But to someone else, there's a great appreciation for the fact that you're given a different perspective. And that's what creates the art and makes it so special, because with you guys saying verse, hook, verse, that's typically what you hear a lot of the times, right? So switching something up and doing something different, it kind of puts your asterisk on it. It kind of puts that signature on it, right? So with you guys creating that music, was there a track with Project Nostalgia? Was there a track that was emotionally difficult for you to record?
Yeah. Proud of you.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gotta be.
That was the only one that was kind of really emotional. And like he said, like when we performed it at the show, he had somebody approach him about how relatable it was, and it's just a relatable track. You know what I mean? Like I felt like throughout the whole album we were on some real shit, but it was a lot of vibe. Like the beat choices is a lot of like late night cruising. You know what I mean? That was one of them ones where it was like, I don't know who came up with the verse first, but I know you came up with the hook, and then that took it from there. So I instantly knew like, oh, okay, it's on some like sentimental type of shit, and that's my lane all the way. So
right,
you know, as soon as we made that one, it was like, oh, I don't even know why we put it last. We should have put it first, but it was a good outro. It was a good outro for sure.
That song was for sure the hardest because it's trippy to think about when I die. This is my letter to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because we talk about like that, but then like that was hard for me to record. But when I hear Nitty's verse, bro, like I'm not like saying this for like emotional fucking shock, but like my heart like breaks for this guy. Like when my wife first heard it, like she knows my story. Like it was like, oh, that's cute. She heard his verse and cried because like he's talking about no one gives a fuck if I live or die. Right. I ran away from home. And then on top of all that, bro, people statistically of Nitty's upbringing become nothing with their life. And he says, no, I'm going to love my child. I'm going to give my child all the love and attention that I needed, but I'm not going to make it about me. You see what I'm saying? How are you a selfless parent? You don't even have a kid yet. Respectfully, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
I think that song is probably the most difficult in terms of emotions. I would say Show Me is one that he and I both made after we just spoke for 2 hours straight on all the shit that was, I don't want to say bothering us. I'll speak for myself, bothering me about the music industry and just this game in general. Game. I don't even like to call it a game, but the business. And when we recorded that verse, it felt like a fucking weight was lifted off my shoulders, bro. I was like, it felt really good to call somebody a spoiled fucking brat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Get it off, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's really dope. So with you guys reporting, and we also talked about like trust, loyalty. We talked about the business, right? How did you, or is there a time, I should say, that you had to outgrow people in the business as opposed to your personal life?
I mean, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
You know, there was one session where I look back at that session and I say, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I did that. I don't regret what I said, and I'll stand on what I said. I won't say what song it is, but like you know how you get like a feeling about something? And you're like, I got a feeling, but I can't, maybe I'm tripping. Like,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I had all these different, this person saying this about you, and someone in the studio confirmed that. You know what I'm saying? Somebody in that studio session confirmed all the shit that I have already been hearing. And I was like, I really fuck with that person. I really fuck with that person. That just pissed me off, right? After we recorded the song, it took me a while to come to this conclusion of, why do I let people who are, as a man, not as a musician, not as an Instagram entity, whatever that shit, as a man beneath me, why do I let people like that bother me? You know what I'm saying? So in the business of music, I had to look at myself the same way. It's like, you don't get 20 nitties. You don't get 20, you get maybe one or two of these guys in your life. So of course my circle is going to be smaller. If I've learned anything in the business, it's like, I'm not going to be for everybody. I put myself out there, like you mentioned, like he mentioned. There's not many people out there who's going to be like, you know what? I fuck with August's story. He does. And so I don't need the other 10 people. I fuck with that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
quality over quantity.
yeah, exactly.
Big
So,
facts.
so to summarize, if I learn anything in this industry, it's your worth is determined by you, not a label, right? Not the amount of followers you have, by you as a person, a man, woman, whatever. Oh, what about you? I'm curious how you look at this one.
Shit, that was your question right there.
You nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
That's really dope. So with all of that, and I know we were kind of focused on the album, but I think that it's important to emphasize and kind of discuss that upbringing and the things that you guys went through, because it shapes your album. It shapes your music. And so with you guys going through what you went through and, both touching on broken homes, how do you avoid repeating those cycles that you grew up in? How do you, go through that growth?
Shit, honestly, that's a great question. I just live my life, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I go day by day. Like, I don't really, like, this guy right here has a calendar that he goes by, you know what I mean? Religiously. Like, I don't know. I go by a different standard. My lady, we just got married. Shout out my wife. She thank you. She saved my life. So I just owe everything to her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't come from a big family. Like I come from a separated family, so we're all over the place and kind of check in here and there. So I don't really do it for my family. I don't do music for no attention, nothing like that, no likes. I owe it all to my relationship, because I was headed down this path and she took me down this path. Like, no, you're gonna do this. And it was a resistance path where I was like, nah, I don't want to be like that. I want to be over here fucking up in the streets, making fast money. But she made me into a man. You know what I mean? So
that part.
And sometimes as a boy, you fight the resistance to become a man, especially if you never had a man figure. So I owe a lot to her. But I mean, I'll just go with the flow, bro. Like, I'm just grateful to be here.
I'm going to be 8 years sober this year.
Congratulations on that,
yes,
man.
sir.
Thank you. I made that decision when I was 23, and I'll never forget. My buddy brought me to an AA meeting, and they like have us in a like essentially a U shape, right? And so it goes from youngest to oldest. I'm 23, and the next person is like 35, and then goes up. The last person was like 80 something, and so every person thanked me, literally thanked me for being in that room. And by the time that guy spoke, he said, "Thank you," and he's like the leader of the group, and everyone's like laughing when he talks, and then it gets silent. He goes like this, puts his hand over his face. You hear him crying, and he said, I'm sorry. He said, if I made the decision at your age, I would still have my daughter in my life. That's why that's breaking cycles, bro. Like there's machismo culture in like in Mexican heritage. You know, not every I'm not going to speak for every Mexican family ever, but I know in my family machismo is like a big thing. I'm a very sensitive guy, as you can fucking see me crying on camera and shit. And so that's the way you break cycles is by, you ever see that fucking meme where it's like a grandparent shooting the back of the parent, the parent shooting and there's one parent that instead of
protecting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to do it. And shout out to my pops and my mom. Like we patched our shit up, but that is how you do it, is you say, whatever the world gave me, I'm not going to give it back. You know, and that has been the downfall of a lot of my life, where I said earlier, I try to trust through it. Like, nah, I know you're a bad person, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. My kid is a clean slate. It has nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think what you just said, man, I want to say thank you for what you just said, because you said what the world has gave me, I'm not going to give it back, right? Something to that effect. And I think that personally resonates with me, because like I told you when you did your mental check-in with me when we started, it was like, you know, I've had a day, you know what I mean? Just mentally. And with what I was battling, I wanted to respond in a certain way. And, you know, to a certain degree, I still do. But with you saying that, it kind of gives me a completely different perspective, something that I can sit with and something that I can analyze and reflect on, because that's a deeper statement than you may realize, because everybody wants that retaliation. Everybody wants their get back, right? Everybody wants that gratification, like, oh no, I didn't let that slide, this, whatever. But it gets a lot deeper than that. And it's like, in order to grow, in order to get to that person that you're supposed to be, you can't fight every battle. And that's important. And that's, like I said, it's important to the process of growth. And speaking of growth, I know we had talked about Nitty, for you, there was a process or a time where you kind of isolated yourself. Now, do you think that isolation was part of your growth, or do you think that it was hindering your growth? And that question is to kind of both of you guys as far as the concept of isolation, but more so Nitty because he spoke to that previously.
Yeah, that was for sure growth, 100%. I needed that shit. That was God telling me, like, this is what you have to go through. And I wouldn't want it any other way. Like, I was chose for that. I was chose for that growth. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've never been a why me kind of person. So it was kind of just, I was going through it, and I knew I was going through it. I knew I was going to get out of it one day, even if it wasn't tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I took that time to reflect a lot. It was just a moment that I wouldn't regret at all. I wouldn't want anybody else to go through it because I was built for it. You know what I mean? I'm proud that I went through what I went through. I wish I would have had a different lifestyle. I see other people that I used to hang out with, and they've elevated further than me, whether that be education or, you know, sports. I used to play sports, so maybe they went on further, or they have a house now, whatever, you know what I mean? Comparisons. But I'm glad what I went through is what I went through. I have a small circle because of it, a lot of trust issues, but I think, you know, I believe I'm here for this purpose, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So it was definitely a growth spurt in my life. There was a lot of fear involved in what I went through. And so it taught me after that aspect, it was kind of like coming out of that. It was like, all right, fuck that. I don't fear nothing now. You know what I mean? So that's really what I live my life by. You know what I mean? It's not about being the biggest dude in the room, being the hardest dude, being the thuggish dude. It's just about, like, I went through some shit, and this is me. This is who the fuck I am. This is my story, and I stand on that shit. You know what I mean?
I love it.
You have two chefs cooking right there, bro.
See, y'all bounce off each other. I love it. So kind of a similar question to what I've already asked, but in a different aspect, a different light. How do you protect your peace in an industry of this nature that can be artificial, right?
That's a deep question.
Now, he shouted out his lady. I got to shout out mine.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity to do so because, like, when you get away from all that, I'm very grateful for the opportunity right now of like being in this space. I trust everyone in this room. Like I've seen you, I've known you, right? I've seen your work ethic, right? I've seen him, I know him, right? I know his work ethic. My wife is like removed from all this. Like has nothing. When we all go home right now to whoever we love, or we on the phone with whoever we love, bro, we might talk about our day, but you realize, bro, none of this shit low key matters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's beautiful that we have the opportunity to do this, but what really matters is that love that you have with your significant other. We're gonna, no matter what industry you go in, whether it's the creative industry or fucking corporate, bro, you're gonna encounter snakes. You're gonna have a coworker, and this happened to me in the music industry. You're gonna have a coworker that be like, "Hey, Monty, don't go for that promotion, bro. Like, it's nothing." And then that same guy goes and applies for the promotion and act like he never told you that shit. You know who you are who did that in the music industry, you fucking snake. But regardless, bro, my thing is, bro, you can't be mad at a snake for biting. You can't. A snake's gonna be a snake. I should be the one. Like, you ever see those stupid ass videos where people go fucking around and finding out?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Right?
Yeah. Eventually, yeah.
That's what I get. Like, I can't be mad at a snake for doing its job. So my wife reminds me a lot of, she doesn't like give me these life lessons like I do. She's over there kind of like Nitty's talking about like, hey, you want to watch this? Of course I do. I don't care about this show at all, but the fact that you ground me in reality and what really matters, like that's how I stay grounded.
Love that. I love that. So you guys obviously pride yourselves and, resonate with being vulnerable in your music. And just in general, as human beings, as men, do you think that vulnerability in hip hop is respected or still misunderstood?
Absolutely not respected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. I think, especially in our era, this era that we're living, it's all about going viral. It's all about the same fucking sound. Like in this area in particular, people want to make a banger. People want to talk about shit they never been through. You know what I mean? Like people want to be seen for a certain image, and for being vulnerable. Like there is no image to it. This is you. So I would say it's definitely not respected, but that's not what we do it for. We do it for the people that can relate. At the end of the day, that's all it's about, is for that young kid or the grown adult like me or August who's been through what we've been through, and be able to be like, yo, that's not only real music, but I've been through that shit too. You know what I mean? Facts. So it just has to be relatable. Fuck trying to catch a vibe. It's just all about being relatable. So I personally don't care about being respected. You know what I mean?
I want to add to that. You ever have a homie that like, he like really fucks with you and he's like, hey bro, like we ever get into a fight or something, like I got you. And then like you get into a situation and they run away.
Yeah, for real.
Right. Yeah, I know it. Right.
Yeah,
right.
Like where he going?
Exactly. That's the way I feel about the art form. I think that a lot of people respect us as men and like, bro, like you say that real shit.
Oh yeah.
You say that real shit. I fuck with you so heavy.
But then the music.
Yeah. And then like, it was like, oh yeah, I fuck with your shit too, bro. And then like you wait for the right sound. Like, hey, I like this track. Can I hop on it? I don't really see us on it, bro. And then they never want to fuck with you again. You want to know why? Because it's that thing of like insecurity. It's like, bro, if I give Nitty too much shine, bro, Nitty's going to be up. Because like Nitty, all right, put it this way, bro. Nitty's got tattoos. He ain't get those tattoos because it's like, oh, like this is going to boost my fucking image. He got those tattoos because he wants those fucking tattoos, right? So you got to think about the kind of person like that. If they bring integrity to this game, everyone who is not integrous or whatever the fuck however you say that, right? Everyone who's not of that cloth, they all got to die. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I think they want to respect us, but they know if they give us too much shine, that there's no room for them. And to that, I say that's the dumbest train of thought I've ever heard. How many teams are there in the NFL? Like 32? 32?
Yeah.
No one ever says, bro, we gotta be one team. Only one team can be the greatest. I said it right before the camera started rolling, bro. Different different team wins the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah.
Unless you're Kansas City for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
man.
can all win, bro. We can all eat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, man. That train of thought is ridiculous where people feel like giving somebody else their praise, giving someone else their flowers shrinks them or belittles them. And it's like, that's not the case. And in fact, I think that kind of elevates you as an individual when you have the vulnerability, right? To sit here and say, hey, you know what? You're doing a good job. Hey, you know what? I like what you just did right there. Hey, you know what? Even knowing that I may not be able to do it like that, or I may not be at that level at this point in time, but I see what you're doing and I'm going to get there. And I'm not going to feel upset or feel a type of way because you're already there.
Yep.
Right.
I'm going to push it through because I know that me personally, I can get to that point one day. And so I appreciate you saying that because it goes a long way. It goes a long way. Now, speaking about, going back towards the younger version of you and just Project Nostalgia, the concept of itself. You guys are both in your 30s or early 30s?
I just turned 31.
Just turned 31?
I'll be 32 next week.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
what's something that you believe that about manhood at 20 or maybe even younger or a little bit older that you no longer believe? That's something that no longer resonates with you now that you went through your process of growth and trials and tribulations.
Damn, that's a good
That's a
question.
great
That's
question,
a great
bro.
question.
Yeah.
No, he cooked. There's 3 chefs in
Yeah,
there.
he cooking, yeah.
Come on now.
Honestly, me personally, I didn't know what a man was. You know what I mean? Like I said.
Mm.
So there was never no standard. There was never no, in my 30s, I should have this. In my 20s, I should have this. But as a 20-year-old man, I wasn't doing good. Like I said, you know what I mean? So as a 30-year-old man, so I wanted to have kids when I was 25. I thought, you know what I mean? And my lady didn't want kids. So I didn't have a kid with her. It's her body, you know what I mean? And I'm glad that we didn't because I thought I was ready. And now at this point, as a 31-year-old, I'm like, okay, I understand why God didn't give me a baby then. You know what I mean? So right now, I'm emotionally available and mature. I'm willing to set my pride aside. I'm willing to take advice. When I was 20, fuck your advice. You know what I mean? I was stubborn. So if I had a conversation with somebody and I didn't like where it was going, it was an argument. Now I can sit back and be like, there can be a disagreement without an argument. So as a 30-year-old man, I feel like I've come a long way, but again, there's no standard. So I'm not sitting here like I'm 32 next week, but when I'm 42, I need to have this. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, God gives us things in a certain time in our life, and I believe in that.
I love that. And I resonate with that because, especially with you saying 25, and I know you saw my reaction.
Yeah.
Me personally, man, I've always had this vision of having a certain amount of kids by 25,
That was
having
my
my
vision.
house, having my cars.
Right.
And so I want to ask you, based on that concept, because me personally, this is something I battle with, and to a certain degree, I still do. It threw me off not getting to that milestone at those times, and even just other milestones. How would you say, like, let me see how I can word this the right way. With you not hitting those milestones, how do you think it's affected you before kind of reaching that point of like, hey, you know what, I wasn't ready? Because with you saying, God didn't give me this because I wasn't ready. And now, now you're at a different stage. That was a hard concept for me to swallow.
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
even today at 31 years old, I'm just like, there's certain things that I want. And it's like, I just came to the realization like last month. God's not giving me what I want because I'm not fully ready for it just yet.
Yeah.
And it's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how would you say that you kind of dealt with that in the grand scheme of things?
I'll tell you one word: patience. That's it. That's it right there.
Man.
And it's the hardest thing to learn in life. It's just realizing, like I said, like when it's not meant, it's not meant. Sometimes you fight that urge, like, nah, I need it. I need it right now. I want to go buy that car. You know what I mean? Like that. I see that car. I got the money. I'm gonna go get it. And then you get the car and you're like, damn, I kind of feel the same. It kind of would have been the same thing about a kid. Oh, I need a kid when I'm 25. But a kid at 32 feels the same. But now you're just ready. So I just had to learn patience, bro. That patience is the key.
When do they turn the kitchen off?
But man, like, you know what? I love this conversation because it's all so natural, but at the same time, it's like, while you guys are speaking about what you have going on and how life has shaped you, you're speaking to me in certain ways because, you know what I mean? Like I've have my own little things going on, and it's like patience is literally one thing that I'm learning right now. And it's one thing that my dad has always preached to me. And it's one thing that I'm always...
Older folks always try to preach it, and we're like, patience.
Nah, well, yeah.
But it's one of those things that you learn over time. And that's why you always hear from the older folks, because they had to learn it the hard way.
Hey, why do you think old people walk so slow?
Yeah, hey, they're not in a rush.
They're not in a rush.
So that's crazy. And so with that emotional battle that you face, I'm going to ask both of you, what does emotional strength look like?
Vulnerability. I mean, like, I just cried on camera. That was the first time I ever done that. The Bakersfield podcast, they try to get me to cry on camera, like for acting, I couldn't do it. I just can't do that. But like, it's about like emotional strength is about, it's not about like, all right, let me have an emotional breakdown right now so everyone knows I'm upset. Emotional strength is about balance, right? Not being afraid to say, hey, I'm upset by something, right? But also not getting so out of control that it controls you. So I'll give you an example. In our field, I think we all know as men, like there's a certain line none of us can cross in this room before it gets violent and disrespectful. Emotional strength is, I know I can knock your ass out, and I'm gonna choose not to do that, because what does that benefit any of us? I'm gonna break my knuckle knocking your bitch ass out. Soft ass chin and shit. No one here. You know what I'm saying? With your chest. Yeah. He's like,
how you feel, man?
Every man thinks that, bro.
These cameras on.
What's up? No, but you see what I'm saying though, right?
I hear you.
That the way I feel about it is emotional strength is, I can take it to this place, but I'm not going to, because what am I going to gain from that? A little bit of pride? Bro, I'm 31 years old. Pride days are from my 20s.
Yeah.
I'm cool, bro. I'm about to be a dad. I worn the same jacket my whole rollout. You think I'm gonna fuck about pride?
Big facts.
Big facts.
Well, congratulations on about to become a dad, man.
Thank
you.
With what you just said, and you kind of touched on it, that pride is kind of out the window.
Yeah.
And again,
a little bit,
right?
Yeah.
Because again, like for example, recently I ran into a situation where it's like literally it was that situation. Like, I could really do something to you right now.
Right, yeah.
But what's it worth?
In the grand scheme of things, I have a child, I got cars, I got a career, I got a spot. And, for me, unfortunately, because of the job that I have, my 9 to 5, when I come into contact with police, that report comes through my job, and I'll lose everything, right? And so I personally struggle with pride in that concept, because it's like, I knew what I could have did. I could have gave you every piece of energy that it was that you were looking for.
I called for it.
Yeah,
right?
and it was definitely warranted. But it's like, I had to have that emotional strength at the time of, this isn't going to serve me any purpose.
But see, that's the difference between somebody who has something to lose and somebody who doesn't. We ask ourselves why that person ended up in prison, this and that. It's because he ain't got shit to lose. You know what I mean? Or he just didn't give a fuck. Right. But a lot of it is also mentally, they feel like they ain't got shit to lose. Maybe they got a kid, but the baby mama won't let them see him. You know what I mean? So they're like, fuck it, I'll just kill this motherfucker right here and end up in prison. And we all have regrets. So that they eventually regret it, but they got to live with their decisions. So you in that situation, hey, let me calculate, like, is it worth it? You know what I mean? But sometimes people don't have the emotional maturity. It goes to what you're asking before. I think emotional strength is having emotional maturity, and also the that willingness to step back and put yourself into other people's shoes. And realizing, like, you know what, this person might have had a bad day also, you know what I mean? They're in my face yelling at me right now, but it's not worth it. Let me just let it slide, you know what I mean? So instead of the younger person being like, all right, what's good? You know what I mean? So.
He cook with that. At the end of the day, I feel like men live with this, like, or I shouldn't say all men. Most men probably have that experience of when you're younger, it's like, hey, don't be a bitch, bro. Yeah. Don't be a pussy, bro. Yeah. My thing is, I'm gonna look at the camera when I say this. If you're like, I would say 26 plus, bro. If your motivation is, oh, my friends are going to call me a bitch if I don't say this, I'm going to tell you a fact right now. Your friends are already calling you a bitch, whether you do it or not. Whether you do, if they have the courage to call you a bitch, they're going to do it no matter what you do. And guess what? I think you're a bitch for doing something because they'll call you a bitch. So how about that? Bitchception.
Yeah.
Y'all are cooking. Y'all are cooking. I like that. I never heard bitchception before.
Bitchception.
I freestyled that. I
freestyled. Yeah.
I love that, but it's like, you know what? You might have just did something.
I'm so sorry for cursing up a storm on your platform.
This is what it's about. It's about that vulnerability. It's about giving you the platform to show who you really are. So there's no, ain't nothing getting beeped out. And that's why I asked you before, like, is there anything off limits? And both of you guys said no. Because I want to open up that space and open up that that avenue for you guys to show the world the different side of you outside of the music and from a different light, right? And then if I'm not mistaken, you have a podcast, right? Is it both of you? Or is it,
No, he has a
is you have a
podcast.
podcast?
Yeah,
Okay.
podcast. I have two technically. But
Two podcasts.
Mm.
Okay, so with your podcast and, with Project Nostalgia tying them together, I want to ask, has there been conversations from the podcast that influenced something that ended up on Project Nostalgia?
Not my interview platform per se, but like I have a series called Healing with August Wild where I use AI to essentially be like my co-host, or like, so it'll like ask me questions based on my answers and shit like that. And a lot of that, I talk about my past. I talk about like situations that hurt me and how can I grow through that? Like I use AI to give me a different perspective of not like using it for therapy, but if I say, man, like this person made a joke about me, like I got to say something back. AI might say, well, hold on one second. What would that get you? Right. And so let's walk through that. So in that regard, yes, in the interview platform, it's hit or miss, right? Because it's not about me. I do use some of my stories to relate to the person I'm talking to, but I like to use that platform specifically to highlight the story of another artist, not about no bullshit, but the same way right now you're asking about us about our life and you're asking great questions.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know the artist and everyone that I interview after the fact. Like, I want to follow that person. I don't give a fuck if they follow August.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get that many followers from that. I care that another artist said, oh, I discovered Nitty from that. I discovered Mac G from that, so on and so forth.
Okay.
Create a platform.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And so with you doing your podcast, right? And you said it was Healing with August, correct?
Healing with August Wild. Yes, sir.
Healing with August Wild, you doing that platform and that podcast, and then you yourself, Nitty, just in this interview itself. How does speaking in long form conversation differ from expressing yourself in a 3-minute song?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I mean, obviously, speaking to somebody in real life is it feels a little bit different in the aspect that you have more time. You know what I mean? For me, the trust comes into play where I got to be careful what I say around this person. But with August, it was easy. You know what I mean? Like to just vent. But song form for me, like he could vouch for this. Like I just be freestyling with a pen and a paper though. Like I don't even know where this shit comes from, bro. To be honest, I'll write a verse in like 30 minutes because I don't ever go back and be like, nah, that's not what I want to say. You know what I mean? Just whatever ends up on that paper, that's what that's it. You know what I mean? So, and one thing, like my biggest pet peeve is if I write some shit and somebody else is like, hey, bro, you should change that bar. You know what I mean? Or change that word, didn't make sense. Like, it ain't got to make sense for you. It probably don't even make sense for me right now, but it will. You know what I mean? It felt good. You know what I mean? So, but also speaking to somebody, having a real conversation with someone like we're doing right now is obviously a little bit more therapeutic. But the playback value of a song never gets old.
Mm.
Over and over. And you're going to feel that same type of way. Might not be tomorrow, but maybe 2 months down the road, you went through that same exact thing you talked about. And then you're like, damn, this song was fucking fire.
Absolutely. To me, it's the equivalent. Like if you say, all right, I'm going to ask you guys this question, but make sure to answer it in 16 syllables.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, damn, like it forces you to get concise, So like, I feel like that's where I'll speak for myself. That's where people might get the impression of me. It's like, man, like he sounds so cool on a track, but like it sounds so emotional when he talks as a human being. It's like he has to be faking it, right? My brain goes, no, I have to be precise. And also there's a thing called being in key. You got like, sometimes my voice calls for this, and sometimes I got to do that. Like, I don't know what to tell you, bro. If you never made music, it's going to be
based
hard.
on the vibe that you're trying to give off and based on how you're feeling with that song.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, you just got to be more concise.
Okay. So with that breaking down from long form conversation to, a 3-minute song based on your Project Nostalgia, do you guys personally have a favorite off of that album?
Yeah, for sure. For me, it's Rear View.
Yes, sir.
I'll say that from here on out. Yeah. Just because that was real authentic for me. It was, that was one of them songs that, it was my lane. You know what I mean? As far as like the topic, as far as my flow, it was just, it wasn't focusing on like, oh, this is Project Nostalgia. I don't even think you had anything on that yet. You know what I mean?
No.
That was one of those ones where he didn't have a verse yet, so it wasn't basing it off of August's verse. It was, so I was able to go in the booth and just really be myself, and it showed. So exactly, you know what I mean? Yeah, which isn't a bad thing. And like I said, it made it smooth with August for him to have a verse already or whatever, because it was like, okay, we got a topic here. But for me to have a song like that where it's like we throw the beat on and boom, it's just natural, everything. Yeah, right. So that was my favorite song for sure.
What about you? What's your favorite?
I would say Better Off Alone used to be my favorite, but the more time goes on, all respect to all the features, Now I'm Up is becoming my favorite song, mainly because of like everything hitting you at once. Like the Deuce Tro, he came in with like a flow that I would have never been able to have come up with for the hook. Shout out Deuce, right? And then you take in the things that he's saying, where it's like, I ain't never had a chance to stunt like this. Work until I got it. Now I'm up like this. It's like we did something. We created this environment for all the artists on this project to be like, nah, I'm going to talk about the realest shit I can get. The most important lesson. Ace Boogie on that track said, give my son more than, he hopes to give his son more than memories if he dies, bro. And we just had to let the fucking beat breathe. You know what I'm saying? Like that song is not only is it creative, but it's like, it gives you this feeling of like, nobody in this room can fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a gym song, but a club song. It's so much shit, bro. Yeah. So I would say Now I'm Up.
I love that. I love you guys' answer, the substance and the real understanding behind why you appreciate it rather than just, it sounds good, right? There's meaning behind your whole album, essentially. Project Nostalgia and just that younger version of yourself and everything that you guys have went through. And so with that being said, as we start to wrap up here, I had previously asked you guys if your younger self heard your album, how you would feel. And you both gave me some pretty great answers. Now I'm going to ask you, if you can speak to your younger self right now, if you can send a message to your younger self, if you knew that your younger self was going to watch this video right now, what message would you give to that person, to that young man, to that boy?
We said it, I'll speak for myself. I know I said it on Self-Love, where I say, I open with, this is me talking to myself when I was young. I wish you didn't listen to the hate when you know you're the one. If you wasn't, tell me why. When your confidence is up, they be trying to bring you down because you're more than enough. Like, I even say shit like, you don't want to fit in these rooms. You need to stop it. Because every time you leave that room, you'll be the topic. Right?
Ooh.
Like,
that shit was gas. I know, lie.
Right? Like, the thing I would tell my younger self is like, first of all, nobody's going to give nothing to you. You have to actually put in the work, right? Especially as a man. If someone gives something to you, there's interest that comes with it. You got to pay somebody back later. That's number one. Number two, like, you set the fucking standard. Nobody else. I don't care how many chicks reject you. I don't care how many artists don't want to work with you. You are what you make of yourself. And that's the lesson I would tell my younger self.
I would just tell my younger self to let your guard down. That's pretty much it right there. There's not much else to say. Stop believing that just because someone did this to you, that everybody's going to do that to you. Because that closed the door for a lot of connections that I could have made, a lot of opportunities I could have had as far as music. So I would just say, just don't let your trust issues mold you into that person that can't let somebody else like August into your life. Because August opened a lot of doors for me. He puts himself out there a lot. Something that I don't do, so it's kind of yin and yang. He created this moment right now. So I would have never signed up for something like this because I would have second guessed it like, nah, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, I give thanks to August for that. But yeah, I would just tell my younger self, stop believing that everybody is a certain way just because one thing happened to you, and Project Nostalgia is going to be that moment in your life where you realize like this shit's more than just music. You know
Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Project Nostalgia, man, it's not just a reflection. It's a reminder that growth isn't clean. Healing isn't always linear. And becoming who you're meant to be takes some work, some intention, right? So the two of you guys didn't just collaborate on the album. You collided two life journeys and turned that pain into perspective. And I respect that for both of you guys. You built something authentic in a world that really has a lot of artificial things and people get rewarded for that artificial stuff. So if this is chapter 1 of whatever you guys have going on, I can't wait to see what chapter 2 looks like, or for you guys, chapter 31, 32, however that goes, right? But again, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me today, being vulnerable as you guys continue to be, shedding light on areas for people in general, but more specifically men, and the avenues that we don't really express too much. So let us know where we can find Project Nostalgia.
You can find Project Nostalgia anywhere you stream music, bro. Anywhere.
Everywhere like air.
Yes, sir. Whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, fucking Pandora has it. Tidal has it. You know, anywhere you get your music, you can get it. Amazon Music, I can go down the list. Deezer, I never even heard of
And we
Deezer.
actually have in talks of maybe making physical copies as well. You know, just a few just to pass out as like, you know, a memory of Project Nostalgia and a physical copy to hold on to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly. That
Limited
part too.
edition.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you can find it anywhere, and you can find us on Instagram. I'm NittyGritty209. If you can't find my music, it's because you're putting the space in between Nitty Gritty. Stop putting the space.
Okay, I like that specificness, because people are gonna be like, "Oh, I searched it. He must have took his music down."
Exactly. Nah, you putting the space in there. I'm not Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I'm Nitty Gritty with no spaces, and sometimes adding the 209 in there helps. And you can find Project Nostalgia everywhere.
Okay. And where can we find you on social platforms?
All social platforms, that's TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I guess that's not all, but those are the big 3 that I'm on. You can find me at August WLD. That's no spaces, no underscores, none of that. August AUGUSTWLD. August Wild on all streaming platforms. Yeah. And I got to say real quick, stream Project Nostalgia, of course, but stream Nitty Gritty, stream August Wild.
Yeah.
We, outside of the music that we make, it was really yin and yang. Nitty's got a phenomenal sound that I really fuck with. It's just, he calls it struggle rap, right? I don't want to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But like,
unless you can find something better to say.
I was gonna say, I call it just real life shit, right? I call it a testament of people, someone who's been through something and proven you can still be better than who you were yesterday. And me, I used to make an assortment of fucking music, but after this project, I really I have a lot of soul searching to do with what the kind of music I want to make next. And I'm gonna just announce it now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Deluxe coming in April.
Coming soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
More Nitty in August to come.
So if you boys were mad before, you're gonna stay fucking mad. That's 2 months you mad straight, bro.
Yeah. Not 1 tear, but 2 tears.
2 tears.
I was just about to ask what your final message was, but I'm gonna leave it on that, because that was a solid note. You dropped some inclusive information. Be on the lookout for the album, the deluxe album, I should say. Go stream the album that's already out, Project Nostalgia. This is another episode of Discussion with Dubb. I appreciate you guys' time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward. Thank you, man. This is dope. Just knowing you personally, and just coming, seeing that growth and being able to shine light on it. Just you as a person, and you guys collectively, and then you, Nitty. I just met you today, but you guys some real authentic men, and I appreciate your time and energy today, man. So like I said, it's another episode of Discussion with Dubb. Got Nitty Gritty here, August Wild, and that's all. That's it. So we're out of here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
New numbers, new area codes, new winters and new summers. More expansion, just think about it and make me wonder. Knocking on the beat like a relapse, I feel it coming. Regular programming on schedule with the vibe. Infatuated with multiple ways progressing.